The bully tried to break the new Asian girl's arm in the cafeteria. Seconds later, he was crying on the floor. The sharp crack of bone being forced back echoed through the Fairfax Academy cafeteria like a gunshot, followed by a scream that silenced 300 students. But it wasn't the scream anyone expected. Layla Chun, 17, new to the school, stood over Brendan Scott as he writhed in pain, clutching his wrist. What began as his usual act of dominance had flipped into humiliation in seconds. "Someone should call the nurse," Layla said evenly, brushing her backpack strap higher. Her calm voice, empty of satisfaction or anger, chilled the onlookers. Brendan wasn't just any bully. He was the 18-year-old captain of the rugby team, son of Mayor Scott, and self-proclaimed king of Fairfax Academy. When Layla transferred from a magnet school in Boston with her full scholarship and quiet demeanor, he saw her as easy prey, poor, new, Asian, and isolated. Yet, every time he taunted her, she watched him without fear, studying him with detached curiosity. It wasn't the reaction of a victim. It was analysis. "You broke my wrist," Brendan hissed, his voice cracking. "Basic self-defense," Layla replied coolly. "Apply pressure, rotate, release. Nothing permanent unless you force it." The murmurs grew. Her movements hadn't been lucky. They were trained. Then Principal Evans burst through the crowd. "What's going on here?" "She attacked me," Brendan shouted. "For no reason." Layla took out her phone. "Actually, I recorded everything. Would you like to see?" Brendan's confidence faltered. For 15 minutes, he'd hurled ethnic slurs and threats. "All now on video." "That's illegal," he snapped. "Virginia is a one-consent state," Layla said coldly. Section 1361 of the Penal Code. The principal's face tightened with unease. Layla slipped the phone away and walked toward the door. "I didn't come here to make friends," she said loud enough for everyone. "I came here for a reason. And you, Brendan, just gave me exactly what I needed." By the time she left the cafeteria, 300 stunned faces stared after her. Brendan stood up expecting his friend's support, but saw only uncertainty in their eyes. For the first time, doubt surrounded him. Within days, whispers filled the halls. Students replayed her video, discussing every cruel word Brendan had said. His father's influence couldn't erase the embarrassment of being exposed. By Thursday, his wrist in a splint. Brendan gathered his friends in the parking lot. "My dad's already talked to the principal," he said. "She'll be expelled by Friday." "Are you sure?" The video, one of them muttered. "I don't care," Brendan interrupted. "She's a charity case from Boston. This school protects its own." He didn't notice Layla standing nearby. Phone recording once again. Layla hadn't come to Fairfax Academy by accident. 3 years earlier, her older brother Kai, another scholarship student, had died under suspicious circumstances at a private school in Virginia. The story claimed he'd fallen from a balcony after drinking too much. But Layla knew better. His clothes had shown signs of a struggle, evidence that mysteriously vanished. One of the last people seen with him, Brendan Scott. Since then, Layla had lived with one goal: to uncover the truth. She trained relentlessly, studied forensic law, and mapped every connection between her brother's death and the people who covered it up. Fairfax Academy was her gateway to the truth. And Brendan, her first link. That Friday, Brendan swaggered in the cafeteria, holding a printed suspension notice. "My lawyer's already involved," he sneered. "You edited that video to frame me. That's a crime." Layla tilted her head. "Are you sure you want to say that out loud?" "Oh, I'm very sure," he said, smirking. "Girls like you never learn when to quit." "The kind who don't belong here?" she asked quietly. "Exactly," he spat. "You're just a charity case trying to act tough." Layla's calm expression didn't waver. "Brendan," she said softly, "you just made the biggest mistake of your life." She started walking away, then turned back. "And that court order your lawyer bragged about, it's already being used to open a federal review into discrimination at this school. So, thank you for your cooperation." By that afternoon, Brendan learned she wasn't bluffing. A civil rights firm had filed an emergency motion linking his father's name to a years-old case involving a student's suspicious death. For the first time in his life, Brendan couldn't control the narrative. Monday morning, he arrived early, determined to confront Layla and end it. But as he entered Principal Evans's office, he froze. Layla was there, calm, confident, speaking with a man in a dark suit. When she left, the man turned to him. "Brendan Scott." Brendan nodded slowly. "I'm Agent Marcus Reed, Department of Justice," the man said, showing his badge. "We need to ask you and your father some questions about a party that took place 3 years ago on March 15th. Brendan's face went pale. He tried to speak, but the words wouldn't come. The walls of Fairfax Academy suddenly felt smaller, the air thinner. For the first time, Brendan realized the girl he had tried to humiliate hadn't been fighting for her pride. She'd been fighting for justice. And the game she'd started was only just beginning. Brendan's blood ran cold. "I don't know what you're talking about," Brendan stammered, his hands shaking visibly. "We have records that you posted 47 photos from that night on your social media," Agent Reed said. "Photos that were deleted 2 days after Kai Chen's death, but nothing really disappears from the internet, right?" "My father will want to talk to your superiors about this," Brendan said. "Actually," Agent Reed smiled. "Your superiors already spoke with your father this morning. He's being very cooperative." Brendan learned Fairfax Academy wasn't merely under scrutiny. It was the pilot case. Layla Chen wasn't an ordinary student. She was a trained informant working with the FBI. On Tuesday, Brendan, unhinged, stood in the main courtyard and shouted, "Attention! The girl you call a hero is a government informant. She came to spy on you." Layla appeared to the crowd's edge. Ethan raged. "It's true. Admit it. Tell everyone who you really are." She walked calmly through the students until she faced him. "Brendan," she said, "you're right that I came for a reason. Tomorrow, everyone will learn exactly why." She faced the students. "Tomorrow at 10 a.m. in the auditorium, the truth will be revealed about me, about him, about this school, and about what happens when students like Kai dream beyond what people like Brendan think they deserve. Before that, Brendan, why don't you tell everyone about the party on March 15th, 3 years ago, about what you did to my brother Kai before he fell from that balcony?" Brendan froze. A hush rippled through the crowd. On Wednesday, at 10 a.m., the auditorium was packed. Brendan sat in the front row flanked by 3 lawyers. Layla mounted the stage alone, wearing an orange t-shirt with Kai's photo. "My name is Layla Chen," she began. "Brendan Scott is right. I didn't enroll as an ordinary student. I came here as part of federal investigation into manslaughter, obstruction, and corruption that has touched this school for years." Brendan's confident smile vanished. Layla clicked a remote. A screen descended. Kai Chen was my older brother. Images played. Brendan slipping something into Kai's drink. Kai stumbling, being dragged toward the balcony. "No," Brendan yelled, standing. "These photos are fake." "They're not," Layla said. FBI forensic teams recovered them along with audio. The auditorium speakers played Brendan's voice. "This kid from Boston needs to learn his place. Let's teach him a lesson he'll never forget." "Kai was murdered," Layla announced. "You covered it up with money and influence." She displayed official records. Brendan lunged for the doors, but federal agents had sealed them. Agent Reed walked on stage. "Brendan Scott," he declared, "you are under arrest for manslaughter, concealment of evidence, and obstruction of justice. My father will destroy you all." Brendan screamed as handcuffs closed on his wrists. "Your father," Layla replied, "is being arrested now in his office downtown along with Principal Evans, 2 corrupt investigators, and the judge who dismissed Kai's case." As Brendan was led away, Layla spoke to him. "Kai was brilliant. You killed his dreams. Now you'll pay for every second of pain you caused." "Drag out," Brendan screamed about injustice. Layla turned to the audience. "My brother taught me the truth finds a way. It only needs someone brave enough to open the door." 6 months later, Brendan Scott served a 15-year sentence. Mayor Scott resigned in disgrace. His mansion became a community center. Fairfax Academy underwent sweeping reform. The town responded with stunned silence. Then, with a slow, steady demand for justice. Vigils, petitions, and students organizing reforms. Families spoke openly. Alliances shifted, and a generation who had once been silenced found courage. Kai's name became a rallying cry for accountability and real change everywhere. Layla Chun became the youngest FBI special agent at 18. Her case inspired federal legislation called the Kai Chen Act. At a ceremony honoring victims, Layla said, "Brendan Scott tried to break an Asian girl for Boston. He discovered he'd chosen someone who had spent 3 years preparing to bring people like him to account." Layla proved that the best revenge isn't only tearing down your enemies.